Hey everyone, welcome back to the Landlord Chick podcast. Hey, where's our usual intro? Well, guess what? Things are transitioning. But you know what? We'll get to that at the end of this episode. For starters, today we're going to be talking about 3 things that you can do or think about or get started on to make sure your 2026 year in investing is amazing. Now, I know a lot of you have been messaging me, you've been like, girl, the interest rates. I know, the interest rates. But hey, they did just recently come down a smidgen. I know, they're coming down, but a lot of you are like, they're still really high. Here's the thing, guys. I will always tell this to every single investor that says, oh, well, the interest rates are high, or sellers are being too demanding. You can find a deal in any market. It's just some markets you have to work a little bit harder in. Right now, we're in a market where you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get yourself that deal. Doesn't mean the deal's not out there. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be a great deal. Just means that we've got to work a little bit harder to get ourselves to finding the deal that we're going to be able to close on. But enough about that. So, 3 things that you can do right now, this week, or even just think about during your commute, whether you take a train, when you're in traffic. Don't think about this when you're like in traffic and you're moving and like stuff's like happening quickly, because I don't want you to get in an accident on my watch. But this is just stuff to make you think about the ways that you can still make moves in 2026, even if the market is maybe not the greatest. Number 1, I want you to start looking at other possible target markets. Now, what you're comfortable doing is your decision. I'm not here to tell you, if you live in Iowa, you should be looking at Oklahoma and looking at Tulsa. I'm not here to say if you're living in North Carolina, you should be looking at Wisconsin. I'm not here to say any of that. What I am here to say is that whatever you feel comfortable with, if you want to stay in state, if you even want to stay within a region of your state, within a certain degree, because as we'll talk about in a minute, whatever you're comfortable with, that's where you want to start, and that's where I want you to stay. I'm not asking you to necessarily go out of your comfort zone, because technically I think right now, for a lot of people, even some experienced investors, a lot of them are kind of unsure about buying right now. So that's why I don't want to push you to go completely out of your comfort zone, but I want you to think of 3 other potential specific geographic markets that you could expand into. So is there a neighboring city, maybe nearby in the same county, that you're currently investing in? Is there a city that's maybe in another county, but it's like an hour and a half away from one of the markets you currently invest in, and you've been kind of curious about it? Or are you comfortable sort of stretching your wingspan and going to a different state? Whatever you feel you're comfortable with, I want you to start looking at 3 specific markets that you could research, interview people about, and then build your network in, so that in 2026 you can possibly find yourself with more opportunities in another market. Now, it doesn't mean you shoot for the stars. This doesn't mean that you go for like a huge city like Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, or you go for, well, probably not Chicago, because I think we all know generally why Chicago will be a difficult market to get into, plus regulations and all that. But I do want you to stick with what you're comfortable with to a certain degree. Now, of course, comfort means complacency. But yeah, we're already kind of stepping out of our comfort zone, because I'm encouraging you to find 3 new markets. So if you currently were to just be investing in, let's say, Springfield, Moline, and Rolling Rock, Illinois, that's the ones I could think of off the top of my head. If that's what you're comfortable with and that's what you're in, okay, great. But maybe now you'll head over to, I don't know, Romeo. Maybe you'll check out Romeo. Maybe you'll go over to Joliet. You know what? Go over to Joliet. I like Joliet better than Romeoville, technically. So head over to Joliet. That's still a brand new market. You're still getting out of your comfort zone, because you're not familiar with Joliet as a rental market. You haven't been there before. So that's what I say about, we're still edging ourselves out of our comfort zone so that we can make improvements in how we invest, and we can get ourselves more opportunities. Don't go big or go home. You don't have to do that unless, of course, you feel comfortable with it. But if you do, then great, fantastic. Find another state. I guess if you wanted to go really big, you could, find another country to invest in, but that definitely goes beyond the sort of purview of this podcast, because I tend to stay, if anything, United States, but then obviously a lot of stuff is more, I would say, roughly applicable anywhere. All right, item number 2, what you're going to do. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to go back through, this is an old term now, like who says this anymore? Rolodex. You're going to go through your email, you're going to go through your contacts on your phone, you're going to go through your followers, maybe on your Instagram, ones that you've interacted with, or your Facebook friends. You're going to review all those contacts and figure out who can possibly help you achieve some big moves next year with real estate. So maybe you have a real estate friend on Facebook who you know is a big investor. And maybe you've seen that they're going to maybe transition a little bit of their capital over to laundromats. And to do that, they're going to sell some of their properties, or they're thinking about selling some of their properties. Hit that person up. Shoot them a text, shoot them a Facebook message, ask to meet them for coffee, talk about real estate, ask what their plans are, and then ask a little bit about the properties that they're maybe thinking about selling. You never know until you ask, and you never know how someone can help you achieve your goals until you put yourself out there. So I strongly encourage you to go through your social media, your email, your phone contacts, and just reach back out with people that are in the sphere of real estate and they can somehow possibly get you to your next goalpost. Here's another example. Maybe you haven't had a reason to talk to your lender because you're not buying any new properties, but you obviously have your lender's phone number. Shoot them a text. Ask them how their Thanksgiving was. Ask them what their plans are for Christmas. Ask them how business is going. They'll shoot back. Hey, I had a great Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm going to my mom's for Christmas. How's business going for you? Actually, in 2026, I'm looking to make some pretty big moves. I want to get myself a couple new properties. So if you happen to know of any that are going to hit the market, because you know people that are trying to do a 1031 or people that are talking to you about moving on to commercial loans rather than sort of like a residential one, however you want to word that, hey, could you let me know? Work on utilizing your current network over the next, I'd say 30 to 45 days because, holidays are a little busy. But utilize this time to kind of go through your network and see who might be able to help you get to the next property that you want to have in your portfolio. And item number 3, and this one's a little different. The previous 2 have been very sort of real estate specific. We've been talking about growth, but I want to talk about another thing right now really briefly. And this is AI. Now, we really haven't talked about AI much on this podcast. I think if anything, it's been sort of a passing conversation where I've talked about how, oh yeah, I used AI to do this in the context of some bigger conversation. And that was the whole mention of AI. But the reality of AI is not only have we been using it for much longer than we think we have, because, well, if you use a property management software, sure, that is computers, that is tech, that is software. But there's also AI built into that. Especially nowadays, there's a lot more AI being built into real estate management programs. And it's the sort of AI that you interact with versus the one that's been behind the scenes for X number of years. So AI is definitely creeping into real estate. Now, the one thing about real estate I've said in the past is that traditionally real estate is one of the slowest adapters to technology. Like just in the past, I'd say 2 years has drone photography really picked up for real estate in the sense of listings, buying and selling, things like that. But meanwhile, other places have been using drone technology for quite a few years before then. Another example, honestly, is like Venmo and Cash App and all those online payment platforms. I feel like generally speaking, as a whole, the real estate industry was very slow to adapt to accepting that for rent and security deposit, things like that, versus other industries like just, craft fairs, obviously people like that, but then also stores and like individual like plumbing, HVAC contractors as well. They've been using Venmo and Cash App for many years before I feel like we adopted it as a whole in the real estate industry. So I'm encouraging you to spend some time over the next couple weeks to just start dabbling in. So first thing I want you to do, if you haven't yet, is I want you to download some sort of AI modules, whether it be Gemini, Grok, Copilot. So Gemini is Google, Copilot is Microsoft, Grok is just really Grok. It does happen to be an offshoot of, or it is an Elon Musk app company, things like that. But let me be honest about Grok. Like, if you have personal feelings about Elon Musk, I really encourage you to set them aside, because one thing I will say from all the different AIs that I have tried, Grok definitely has the superior, this is not the correct way to refer to it, but the superior vocal language conversation programming within AI. If I need to talk something out because like I'm driving or it's just easier for me than typing, the one I default to is actually kind of Grok, because its capabilities in having open conversations vocally outpace really everyone else's that I have tried. So download Grok or Gemini or Copilot, which is Microsoft, or, ChatGPT. Everyone likes talking about ChatGPT. I have very little to none experience with ChatGPT. I've really stuck with Grok and Gemini. And then honestly, I will say this about Copilot. For a while, it's had the superior image creation. That one has been eons ahead for whatever reason compared to like Gemini and Grok. But I want you to just kind of like dabble with it. First just kind of start asking it sort of normal questions. So what would be a normal question to ask AI? One of the things that I did recently was I had AI help me find a new laptop for Black Friday because I definitely needed one. The one I had bought previously really was not going to be cutting it anymore for where I see my business going in 2026, doing a lot more video, a lot more social media, things like that. So I knew I needed a better laptop. So I asked AI, hey, what would be some of the better laptops that I could get specifically for HP? I'm going to be doing this with it, and I want to try and get it on a Black Friday sale. It spit back a table, and I could look at the table. It told me the different specifications of the laptops, the price, and then where it would be on sale. That was great. So that's just an example of it. I know there's other people who, this sounds crazy, but they've taken a picture of what's in their fridge. They've uploaded it to ChatGPT and said, hey, given my refrigerator stock right now, assuming that I have pasta in my cabinet and I have bread in my cabinet, what can I make for dinner for my kids? And it'll shoot them back like 3 or 4 different ideas. Sometimes it actually links recipes to you. So it's another idea of a way to use AI. Now, understand that with most AI, in fact, I think almost all AI, I'm going to say all AI, any sort of text, there's limits to it, like texting them. Now, some of them let you go all day in the fast thinking mode versus other ones are sort of you get 5 text prompts. For instance, Grok is a 5 text prompt limit, and then you have to have a paid account. Otherwise, you can't really talk with it the rest of the day. But Grok, vocal conversations like I talked about before, is unlimited throughout the day, which I think is really sweet. Now, a couple of things to understand when working with AI. You need to kind of talk to it like you would an employee or getting a contractor to understand your vision. So me just telling it, help me find a new laptop for Black Friday, was not going to get me the results that I needed quickly because it doesn't have any indication of how much I want to pay or can pay. It doesn't know what I'm going to use a laptop for. It doesn't know that I have a brand preference. So a lot of this is making sure that you're seeing AI specifically on what you're looking for. Now, it still doesn't mean that you're literally telling them what you want them to find. I've had some people argue, well, yeah, but if I have to give that much detail, I should just do it myself. I'm like, oh, really? Then you really haven't spent much time with AI, have you? Because they're going to shoot back results in 2 seconds based on a simple paragraph of instructions. How long is it going to take you to execute upon that paragraph of instructions? 30 minutes? 40 minutes? Probably. So with your prompts, you want to be specific. So do you want it to give you the information in a table format, or do you want it to give it to you in a paragraph format? Do you want it to highlight certain aspects of whatever this conversation is that you're having? Beyond telling it that I can pay this much, is price, going back to the laptop example, is price your number one, reasoning or logic for getting XYZ laptop? Or are you focused more on the performance? Tell it exactly what you want it to research. In this instance, do you want it to look at what type of video cards it has on board? Do you want it to look at its RAM? Do you want it to look at its onboard storage, its hard drive storage? Do you need it to prioritize having, 1 terabyte of storage on the laptop? Make sure it knows what you need it to review and process so that it can give you the best results. Let's do a real estate example here. So one of the things that I've recently begun to do is I have had AI start to review my listing descriptions. Now, this is not for being a real estate agent. This is actually just for investments. But I've said, hey, here is my current listing description for my rental. This is the address. Can you look around at things that I might be missing geographically that I could be advertising close to XYZ? What do you see as far as the wording in other local real estate ads to this zip code, to this street, maybe? I don't really know, however you want to put it. What are some ways that I can make my ad stand out beyond price and incentives in this market that would bring me more views and then more showings. So that's a more specific way that I've really dug in and told AI specifically what I wanted to do. Sure, review the listing description, but beyond just telling me different words I could substitute in there like a thesaurus, I want you to do some research for me. I want you to go look at 1, 2, and 3, and then come back to me, give me that information, and then in the end, draft 2 to 3 examples of implementing what you've learned into the new listing description. That might have felt a little complicated, especially if you don't have any experience with AI. Well, let me tell you, it's easy. A lot of it just comes down to instructing AI as if you were instructing an employee, a subordinate at work, or a contractor. The more information you give AI, the less time you're going to spend basically fighting with it. To a certain extent. There will be sometimes you're still going to fight with AI. You still will. But when I was first starting to use AI and I was trying to use it to come up with social media ideas, I was probably spending an hour on social media creation, and I was spending 45 minutes of it going back and forth with AI probably, which that came down to I wasn't giving it enough good, solid prompting. When I started paying more attention to what I was telling it that I did want or did not want, then I noticed my time interacting or fighting with AI was reduced because it knew more concretely what I was looking for. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. AI is not a mind reader. I don't know why I thought it was going to be reading my mind and giving me exactly what I wanted just based on the prompt of give me 15 real estate investing social media posts. Like, what the heck was I thinking? I needed to give it more direction. Do I want to have posts that are focusing on financing? Do I want to have posts that are focusing on day-to-day operations? Do I want to have posts that are focusing on buying, growing, capital, your contractor network, like any number of things? The more specificity I gave it, not only with the material I was looking for, but how it would be written. Did I want it to be professional? Did I want it to be edgy? Did I want it to be contrarian? The more information I gave it, the less time I would spend going back and forth with it to get the optimal results that I'd have. So yes, AI can be less efficient for you if you have not really honed in on good prompting for AI. All right, guys, those are the 3 things I want you to work on. I want you to identify 3 potential markets that are new to you that you could be investing in. I want you to go through your contacts, your social media, your email, your phone. I want you to reach out to people that you know could potentially move you forward in 2026. And then 3, I want you to start dabbling with AI. If you've never done anything with AI, just start very casually. Just sort of, if you have a problem, you're trying to figure out something during the day, pull up AI, give it some specific prompting and see if it can resolve that issue for you. Those are the 3 things I want you to do. Really briefly at the end of this podcast. Last podcast episode, I was telling you about what was ahead for 2026. And here I am to say more concretely, I guess sort of a drum roll, what you're going to see from this podcast and me going forward in 2026. So starting with January 1st, this podcast will be called no longer the Landlord Chick Podcast. It will be called the Spunky Pro Podcast. Now, there's a distinct reason for that shift. It's not that I'm getting away from real estate content on the podcast. That's totally going to be the bread and butter. But when I made this pivot, see, originally this podcast was called the Passive Income Revolution, which gave me more of an ability to expand on conversations. I could talk about entrepreneurship topics. I could talk about like investing that didn't necessarily deal with real estate. I had a little bit more expansion with topics. When I shifted to Landlord Chick Podcast, you know what? I loved the name. I loved the branding. But in reality, it kind of started to pigeonhole this podcast a little bit to where even general entrepreneurship topics that applied to real estate investors and more people, it kind of was either A, hard to get those podcast episodes to perform, or B, they just weren't really being seen by people because it's just the Landlord Chick Podcast. So starting January 1st, this podcast is going to be the Spunky Pro Podcast. It's still going to be overwhelmingly real estate. It's also going to have some elements of, I'm going to call it like financial. And then it's also going to have elements of entrepreneurship. Other thing, I do have the podcast now over on YouTube, What you'll be able to find on YouTube after January will be not just this podcast. The podcast is currently on there. Spoiler. If you go over and you search for Landlord Chick Podcast, you'll be able to find the podcast over there. That not only has our current catalog, but it also has the back catalog as well. So everything is up there for the podcast. But starting January 1st, you'll also start to see shorts on there. Oh my God, you're going to see what your girl looks like. Crazy, huh? I mean, I feel like we've had this very weird, like, wizard behind the curtain relationship for, I want to say like 5 or 6 years now. But starting January 1st, and I'm not saying the first one's going to drop on January 1st, by the way. So don't be like pulling up your phone New Year's Day, hunt over and being like, where is that short? I can't wait to see her face. Although if you've been following me on Instagram, I mean, occasionally you'll have seen my face on there. But we'll be getting into shorts on there. We will have real estate shorts. We will have entrepreneurship shorts. We will have finance shorts. And then also, I don't know this. Maybe you guys know this about me. Maybe you don't. I'm kind of a little bit of a history nerd. So to put in a little bit of like personal touch and sort of personal flair to the content I'm putting out there, I'm introducing the history segment of shorts. History segments are going to focus on really sort of US history, but they're not going to be like boring. Like I'm going to get down into like the untold stories regarding US history. I'm also going to be looking at specific histories of cities and states, sort of like going geographically. And these are going to be short things. I promise you, if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy my personality on this podcast, even if you think history can be kind of dry, chances are you're going to like those shorts. The other thing, the store is coming. The Spunky Pro store is coming. I am in the final touches of getting things set up product-wise. That will then lead to getting the store set up on the website, which technically it's started, but you guys can't see it yet. But over on briopropertieswi.com, the store will be launching over there. I will give you a specific link in the future in the description. Then lastly, third, we are going to be launching new online classes in 2026. Guys, I'm super excited because I actually have a few classes on the docket that I have not taught you guys before. See, previously, the classes I've used online have been ones that I have taught in person previously, but you guys are getting 2 brand new classes online. And in fact, actually, guys, no, 3 brand new online classes. I'm just looking at this now and seeing what I finally decide on. 3 new classes online. And guys, 2 of them are brand new classes, legit brand new classes. Now, these are not in order as far as when they're being taught. Your girl's still a little undecided on when she's going to teach what. She's got to get that decided this week so she can start marketing stuff. But okay, so we have Mastering the Numbers. That is going to be in the Mastering the Numbers and Decoding the Numbers. I lost the point on that. Okay, but Mastering the Numbers, Decoding the Numbers. Sorry guys, I'll get the title right before next time. But that is going to be about running calculations. Now, these are going to be specifically about rental property calculations. I'm not going to get into flipping calculations or private money lending calculations. I'm not going to get into that sort of stuff. This one really is focused on rental investment number crunching. And this is one of the brand new courses. Other course I'm going to teach is Market Like You Mean It. This, again, is more of a rental investing one. There are aspects of it that are about like personal branding and just sort of general awareness of real estate investing. But we're going to talk, I would say about a third of it is going to be about marketing your rentals. And then another third of it is going to be about marketing your listings for flipping, or also including in their personal branding. So that one is going to be a really good one. Even if the first part of it for rental marketing doesn't really apply to you, the personal branding, I think really honestly kind of applies to everyone to a certain degree. So I think that's one everybody should check out. Then another one we have, and this goes back to sort of a rental specific one. This is the Ultimate Tenant Screening Guide. So this course, it's going to go through the best practices for screening your tenants. Now, the key thing about this, and I will say this during the class, but understand that this class will be sort of curated for a national audience, but that means that you need to do your own checking into your own state statutes and your own like protected classes to make sure that you're still in compliance, because I can't possibly teach a class that covers all 50 states tenant screening. I can't. Maybe someday I can clone myself with an AI and then they can do it for me. But until then, this is really going to be sort of like a broad overview, but then a lot of my examples, understand, will probably be coming from my experience in Wisconsin. Now, that doesn't mean that if you invest in Idaho, Washington State, Arizona, New Mexico, that you shouldn't or you can't attend this class. You can 100%, because the content is going to be as neutral as I can possibly make it, while filling in enough content so that you guys make it seem like it's worth it. Next one I'm going to be teaching is Move Outs Like a Boss. This one is about the move out process of a tenant. So again, this is actually kind of very rental specific again. This one, we're going to be focusing on sort of the overview of the process of moving a tenant out. There will be elements of this that will have to be, again, verified and checked within your state statutes. Like I'll tell you, for instance, we'll be covering security deposit deadline. And then on that slide, we'll be talking about, so here in Wisconsin, our security deposit deadline is 21 days. Whatever state you're in, be sure you're out there and you're researching what your state statutes say is your deadline for your security deposit return. Notice the language. Is it postmarked? Is it received? Those are all the things that we're going to be talking about in that class. And that's how we're going to kind of broaden it to be applicable to all of the states and not just Wisconsin specific. Next one, this one is going to be an amazing one. This is one of my brand new ones. Guys, I'm super, super excited for this one. I'm going to teach a class on AI for real estate. Now, what's it going to be? Well, it's going to be honestly a fair amount of learning about prompting. It's going to be learning about the different types of AI tools. It's going to be learning about the different ways that you can use AI beyond just writing the prompt, but what could you prompt it to do for you? And we are going to tie this into real estate very, very heavily. So I want to make sure that everyone out there has the opportunity to use AI as we get closer to sort of this, not like we're in the AI boom right now, guys, but where we're headed, we are headed for basically get on AI or be left behind sort of situation. So part of the reason this class is to make sure that you guys are not getting left behind. That if you're really unsure about it, or you like AI, but you just can't figure out how to use it in real estate, this class is going to be for you. So I can't tell you more about it because it's not truly that fleshed out. Like literally that's the most I've thought about is what I've told you right there, looking at my notes on my Trello card. But it's going to be a phenomenal class for you guys. Next class is going to be a two-parter. This one is actually Wisconsin specific. So I apologize in advance if you're not a fan in Wisconsin. But if you invest in Wisconsin, this is one you certainly don't want to miss. I have a two-part coming up on Wisconsin Law Masterclass. So this is Mastering Wisconsin State Statutes. This is two parts because I go through every statute that exists in Wisconsin that affects how you run your rental industry. Now, this might seem really boring. Number one, understand I'm the one teaching it, so clearly it's not going to be boring. Like, you guys have seen my personality. You've heard my personality. My personality is going to be in there. I can guarantee you. There's also going to be stories. I'll have my own stories about ways statutes have affected the way I run my rentals. But we're going to run through all of the statutes in both sections of the law. Actually, technically, I think there's 3 sections of law that now regulate our industry. So because it is so long, it's broken down into 2 sessions. So if you buy this class online, you're going to get both sessions automatically. So we're going to be together basically for a total of like about 5 to 6 hours. It won't be all in one day. I'm not that mean. I know you guys got lives, and because this is the longer format one, which means I do them Saturday mornings, nobody really wants to spend, 6 hours of their Saturday with somebody on the computer talking about real estate. So that's why it's be broken down into 2 different Saturdays. But this one right here, this class can have the biggest impact on your rental investing if you are not familiar with state statutes. I'm going to give you 3 questions, and if you don't know the answers to these are you need to be in this class. What is the hottest temperature that you can set a water heater to in Wisconsin? Did you know that? No? Huh? Did you? Answer is 130 degrees, guys. Number 2, is a tenant able to abate rent in full in Wisconsin? Answer to that is no. But how can they abate rent? To figure that out, you got to attend the class. Third question to see if you need to be in this class. What are the 3 ways that you can issue a 5-day notice and have it be legally binding? So what are the 3 ways that you can issue a 5-day notice and have it be something that you can file on in court? Certified mail, registered mail, personal service. Now, there's more to it than just that. So if you didn't get any of those right, you want to be signed up for that course if you invest in Wisconsin. If you got 2 of those wrong, you want to be signed up for that course, invest in Wisconsin. Guys, that class is going to be a slamming class. That honestly is my favorite one to teach, just because I know concretely I'm giving you guys knowledge that will have a huge impact on your portfolio long term. Because all these other classes that we talk about like marketing and networking and running the numbers, none of that means, excuse my French, shit if you get in trouble with the state that you're investing in. Because the state and the court cases can wipe out your portfolio really quickly. So that's why I'm passionate about that class. And then lastly, and this is actually going to be technically 2027, I'm going to be teaching a class. This will be another Wisconsin specific one. No, actually, this won't be. I'm tweaking it a little bit, but this one's going to be an evictions class. I haven't quite decided for sure if we're going to be Wisconsin specific or not on that. I've got like a year to figure that out. Well, not quite, because I got to start marketing it. But guys, that is a list of classes that are coming forth in 2026 from yours truly. These are all live classes. The ones that I have just listed are live classes, which means that you got to be there or be square. Every single class that you sign up for, you get a guidebook, whether it be the 1-hour class or a 2.5-hour class. Now you're like, hey, what's what? You'll know what's what when all this launches after the first of the year. You go to the website, you label your review and see what all these different classes are. Off the top of my head, I think the ones that actually I'm not even going to say what are 1-hour ones. I know for sure what are Saturday ones, the 2.5-hour ones, and that's going to be obviously the Wisconsin State Law Masterclass, and then also tenant screening is also a longer class, so that's a Saturday class. So some of these are Saturday 2.5 deep dives. Other of them are like 1-hour quickies. But no matter which type of course you take, you always get a guidebook with it. Replays are not available, so you got to be there live. You got to be there, but you'll get the guidebook. Whew. All right, guys, I've just offloaded so much that is on the horizon in the next 6 weeks. Whew. All right, I hope I didn't overwhelm you guys. I kind of overwhelmed myself there. I did, and I've been a little under the weather, so like my scratchy throat is kind of starting to kick my ass a little bit right now. So I really do have to end this podcast before I don't even sound great to listen to anymore. Anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will be popping on here for one more episode before the end of the year. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you next time.